Hello guys and girls, and welcome to this new entry or this new series here on my channel where I want to show you how to fly a drone. You're probably here because you just bought a drone or you owned a camera drone and want to start learning how to fly a race drone and just bought your first quadcopter. So, the thing you're gonna learn here is basically all the stuff you'd need on a day-to-day basis. Like, we're going to cover how to turn, how to do a few tricks, how to manage your altitude, all the stuff like that. So you can at some point say that you are confident to fly a drone around a racetrack. Or maybe do some freestyle as well. So, because it's easier for me to do, we're doing this in a simulator, because here I can show you my stick input and all that. Also can switch to camera view to show you something maybe from the outside view of the drone. So the simulator here is Liftoff, and we are going into the free flight mode for this demonstration. We're going to a rather basic track with no race parts installed, so just the basic environment. So here we are, and the first thing you should do whenever you got a new drone or when you're testing a new model is testing out the throttle. The throttle is on the bottom left. You can see it here, the circle moving. And what you should do is just get into a steady hover. Find the sweet spot of that quad. Here it is about 25%. You see I'm slowly climbing because there really is no perfect point where you are completely perfectly hovering. That's not gonna happen on a race quad. You can do this like on a camera drone, like a DJI Mavic or something like that. But those are of course GPS supported and do all the work for you. So it is important when you're learning how to manage your throttle to know where your quad is at. And we're gonna turn a bit to the left here, because you really want to judge the altitude of your quad. Like here, when we go higher and higher, you should always look for some stuff at the ground to see like basically how high you are. Here we are currently at about 10 meters. So this is mainly like about a meter below the ground. So yeah, just take your time, just fly, just keep it hovering and see how high you actually are. Try to fly it in line of sight. Try to understand how high your quad is and what reference points you can use from your first person view. So yeah, that's the most basic thing you should do on a quad. Getting or understanding the throttle control of your current model and understanding how high you are, because these first person perspective, it can really trick you. So yeah, but since we've done the basics of starting a drone, starting a quad, getting it into hover, you probably came here because you want to learn how to fly it. So, first thing you should do is input some throttle, and then just push the right stick if you're in mode 2 forward. That's your pitch. See, if you lean it forward, you're going forward. If you lean it forward more, you're going faster. You also have to put in more throttle so the model doesn't crash, because you're flying at an angle, and the more your quad is angled, the less lift it produces. So more angle means more throttle to keep the same height. That's something you should really practice, getting into flying at an angle where you're comfortable. I think I've set my camera to a 30-degree angle and I'm pretty comfortable flying like this. So the second most important thing is, because you just can't go in a straight line forever, is turning. When you start, or when I started flying a drone, a quad, I was like, oh, I just have to input some yaw and then it will turn for me. Wrong. See what happens. It bangs to the outside and it crashes. I'll show you exactly why that happens. So we go into the third person view here for a second. So do this exact same thing I did before, just inputting yaw, and you will see what happens. Because the thing is, if you want to go forward with a quad, you lean it forward, and then if you just input yaw, it's off axis, because you're just rotating the yaw axis from your quad's or your quad's orientation points. That's basically on a flat plane. You see, it does perfectly rotate around itself, but that's not what we want to turn, because you saw we didn't turn. Okay, let me quickly reset that. What we want to do instead is we want to input a little bit of yaw and a little bit of roll. Roll is on your right stick if you're in mode 2. Just push it to the left or to the right and your quad will roll. Let's see what that does. Also going back to first person view for that. So input yaw and roll at the same time. And there we go. We can turn now. You can also do a 180. Exactly the same, and you can see I'm not letting go of the throttle at all. I'm keeping it at about the center point, at about 50% point. And adjusting it if needed, just to keep the same height. So we do it again. Yaw and roll at the same time, about the same amount. And we do a nice turn. Let's do that again, a little bit quicker now. So I'm inputting more yaw and roll, and because the quad is at a more extreme angle, I also have to put in more throttle to keep it stable. And that's basically how you get around race flags as well. Just practice this for some time until you feel comfortable and until you get a rhythm. You really should understand what's happening to your quad at this point, because it's not like quad racing is not like racing a car, where you're on a racetrack where you have your reference points for braking. You don't have a brake on a quad, and each corner is different. Like, you always approach it with a different speed, on a different angle, so you just have to practice it and get comfortable with it. So I would suggest you do what I'm doing here, just getting into this hay bale or straw bale track and just doing left and right turns around these things here. But of course there is not only one way to go around the corner, there's also a second one, which is more like flying a plane around, or like turning a plane. When you think of a plane, especially a fighter jet or some sort like this, where you can go on extreme angles, if you want to turn, you just roll to the side and then pull back the stick. And exactly this can be done with a quad, but in even more cooler. Because, like I told you, it just throttles upwards, and we can use that for doing something like this. A very narrow turn. So what I did here was, I was just rolling and then pulling back the stick and rolling back. So, 90-degree roll, pulling on the stick, 90-degree roll. And that's something that's really is hard to master. It's called a banked turn. Because sometimes you have to input a little bit of yaw as well. You can see it here on my sticks. But it's really a possibility to turn your quad really fast, like I did here. So I'd suggest only do that if you feel quite comfortable with your quad. I can't even do it to the right. I'm more used to do it on left turn. There you go. Because it's so easy to overshoot, as you saw me doing it. Yeah, but first practice the normal turn with yaw and roll. Then when you get more confident, try to do a banked turn as well. To turn the quad around quickly, or just to get around a 90-degree corner. All possible, with the same techniques. But go one step at a time. Don't try to do it all at the same time. I'm probably rushing a bit through this tutorial video. But I can't stress enough to get the practice. Do it in a simulator. Crash here, don't crash in real life. It's gonna be expensive. You're gonna cry because your favorite quads get broken. And of course, don't get too attached to your favorite quad, because you will break it. But if you break it in the simulator, it will cost you much less. So, next time we're probably gonna talk about more advanced stuff, like maybe doing something like this. Flying a slalom, slalom, I don't know the English word for that. Basically like a figure 8. You can also practice this with just the basic techniques here. Yeah, and then we get into some of the more crazier stuff like rolling, flipping, and maybe some cool stuff like a power loop. It was not exactly a power loop. Something like it combined with more flips. But yeah, we will save that for another video. First, like I said, get down to the basics, learn how to turn your quad. And then we will see... I will see you probably about next week when we do the next tutorial video. Hope you have a good time, hope you like this video. Fly safe, guys.